Manchester United exploring deals for Omar Marmoush and Evan Ferguson. The Manchester United players have spoken out saying that they love working with Ruben Amorim. And what are my expectations for the game tomorrow in the Europa League? These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Make sure you smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching today, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, let's try and get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of November. Right, I want to start the show off by asking you a question. And what I want to know is, who should Manchester United sign as the new striker? Or if you don't want to call it the new striker, just call it the striker. Because I know some people will be like, we've got Højlund, we don't need a striker. But let me know your thoughts. Who should Manchester United sign? I'll give you my answer in a minute. I'll bring you the news first on the striker position. So let's start off by talking about Evan Ferguson. So the story coming out this morning is that apparently Brighton are going to loan out Evan Ferguson in the January transfer window. He hasn't really had much game time at Brighton this season. Obviously, Danny Welbeck has been really, really good as he was last season. There was even that story a few weeks ago, wasn't there, that apparently Erik ten Hag wanted to sign Danny Welbeck in the summer, and instead Manchester United went for Xerxes. But in relation to Evan Ferguson, he's only played about 100 minutes in the Premier League so far, so he's not really had much of an opportunity. He's one of those players, isn't he, where like a season ago, I feel like, Brighton would ask for like 100 million for Evan Ferguson. He was like one of those names where everyone was like, Evan Ferguson, he's going to be the next best thing. But he's kind of fell off, and that's not really on him. That's more on the fact that Brighton just don't play him anymore. Obviously, they've got a new manager, different ideas. He's got 1 goal this season in 9 games. Now, would Manchester United be a good fit for Evan Ferguson on loan? I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know whether he would actually get that much game time at the moment. And I don't think he's really what we need. If it was a couple of years ago, I think, and we got him instead of I nearly said Erling Haaland, instead of Rasmus Højlund, it would have made a lot of sense, wouldn't it? But to sign him now would be a little bit strange. He's still very young. He's kind of similar to Rasmus Højlund. He's still like a player who's developing. He's not the finished article. And that's why we've been linked this morning to Omar Marmoush. This is coming out from Florian Plettenberg, who is, of course, the Sky Sports Germany journalist, and he is reporting this morning that apparently Manchester United want to sign Omar Marmoush from Frankfurt. He's got a transfer fee required would be somewhere around 40 to 50 million pounds. 25 years of age, Egyptian international, had an absolutely unbelievable season so far for Frankfurt. He's got 14 goals and 10 assists in only 17 matches, so that's 24 goals and assists in only 17 games, with 11 in the Bundesliga and 7 assists in the Bundesliga. So he's had a really, really good season so far. And interestingly enough, Frankfurt managed to sign this guy for nothing in July 2023. So last year, they got him for free from Wolfsburg. I assume his contract must have run out or something. But they got him for no money at all. I think he'd be a really interesting signing. And I think the thing that interests me the most about this Omar Marmoush guy is his versatility again. He is somebody who can play on the left, on the right, and as a central forward. He is primarily a central forward, a striker, but he can also operate on the left and the right. And obviously this formation that Ruben Amorim plays, where the front three are quite inverted, they're all quite narrow, I think he would work quite well in that. Now, is he worth 40 million? That's the big question, isn't it? Because obviously his stats have been good this season, but he is playing in a lesser league, let's be clear. He's playing in the Bundesliga, which we can all agree is not of the quality of the Premier League. Last season, he got 12 goals in 29 matches, which is okay in the Bundesliga, I guess. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. Obviously, it's not a terrible record, is it? So, but if you look at the stats from last season, so last season he played as a left winger twice, he played as a striker 7 times, played as a centre forward 31 times, and he even played as an attacking midfielder. So he is quite versatile. He would offer quite a lot of different options. If we did need somebody to play on the left, he could do that. If we needed someone to play as an attacking midfielder, he could do that as well. So, I think he's definitely an interesting option. I think he's definitely an interesting option when you think that, Sporting Lisbon's Gaio Queiroz is valued at somewhere around 80 to 100 million. right? Which to me sounds like a hell of a lot of money, and I think is probably unrealistic. Somebody like this for 30, 40 million could be an option. Is he world class? I'm not convinced that he is, Omar Marmoush. So yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's whether Man United want to spend big on a striker or not, or whether they want to be a little bit more resourceful and go for somebody cheaper, which probably will be the most likely option here. But keeping on the topic of strikers, Florian Plettenberg has also been talking about Kolo Muani, and he says rumours about Kolo Muani joining Manchester United are currently not hot, so he means they're not very happening. He goes on to say, at the moment, there are no internal discussions between PSG and Manchester United about a loan move in the winter. Again, Kolo Muani is another player who obviously Manchester United were heavily linked to in the past. He's another player who doesn't really get any game time at PSG. Obviously, PSG are really struggling at the moment. They're doing well in the French league, but they're doing terribly in the Champions League. I think they're only on 4 points. And as it stands, PSG won't qualify for the next round. They won't even go to the playoff round. So they're really struggling. They're 26th in the Champions League group stage in the table. So yeah, they're not doing particularly well. But for whatever reason, Kolo Muani doesn't seem to be getting selected. I think he was injured at the beginning of the season, to be fair, but at the moment, he doesn't seem to be getting any game time, which is, a bit of a surprise. But let's see what people are saying in the chat this morning. Somebody says, I really hope we get Omar Marmoush this winter. And if Højlund becomes really good, he can play next to Bruno. Fair enough. Al says, Erik ten Hag wasted 600 million of the club's money, and now we have financial fair play problems. You've got to be fair here, right? Erik ten Hag didn't agree the transfer fees. He had an involvement in the players that they wanted to sign, but he didn't go and negotiate the deals with the clubs. He didn't say to Ajax, I want to pay 100 million euros for Anthony. That was on John Murtough and Richard Arnold. So you can criticise Erik ten Hag for suggesting players that haven't worked out, but you can't blame Erik ten Hag for agreeing the transfer fees because that's not his job. Think about what you're saying. Like, his job is to coach the players. His job is not to negotiate transfer fees. Are you going to do the same with every single transfer that Ruben Amorim signs? Are you going to say, he wasted this money? Because that's not his job. That's Dan Ashworth's jobs now. If we sign a player for too much money or it doesn't work out, that's bad recruitment. And that would then be on Dan Ashworth. You can't blame Ruben Amorim if we sign bad players. So yeah, I don't like this whole narrative that it's like, Manchester United wasted 600 million. John Murtough, Richard Arnold, the Glazers, they wasted 600 million. Not really Erik ten Hag. That wasn't his responsibility. His responsibility was to coach the players and had some involvement in who the players should be. But Malp says, where do you think the money's going to come from? Well, the thing you have to remember, Malps, right, is obviously at the end of this season, a lot of players' contracts are expiring, so that will free up some of the wage bill at least. Man United always do make money, so it's just all about, for us, really trying to push into one of those European spots. And at the moment, we are only 3 points off the Europa League spot in the Premier League table. So we're not, I know it's been a terrible start to the season, but if we were to beat Everton on the weekend and a couple of results go our way, we could easily find ourselves as high as 6th, So I know it. Let's have a look at the fixtures. So if we go Premier League fixtures. So yeah, this weekend, Chelsea play Aston Villa. One of those teams is going to have to drop points. Liverpool play Man City. Obviously, one of those teams will drop points. So there's quite a few games this weekend where there's a Premier There's a Premier League game next week as well. Wow. So we got a game this Sunday against Everton, and then we play Arsenal on Wednesday. Crazy. There's literally like 2 or 3 great games a week now, isn't there, until after Christmas, which is absolutely mad. Yeah, there's literally a game on Sunday, a game on Wednesday, and then we play Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Mad. It's an absolutely packed period, isn't it? There's some really difficult games coming up. Really difficult games. Like Everton this weekend, obviously, is a must-win. And then after that, you've got Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, who are doing really well, and then Man City in the next 3 games. It gets a little bit easier after that. Then you've got Bournemouth and Wolves, which you'd hope would win, and then Newcastle, who've not been doing very well. But then as soon as January comes around, you've got Liverpool away, Brighton, Fulham away, Crystal Palace, like some decent games coming up. Tottenham away. So yeah, this is going to be really the crunch time for Ruben Amorim to see how quickly he can implement his tactics. Breaking news says we can't say that Lisandro Martinez was a waste. Oh. Yeah, I don't think all of the players have been a waste. I think Onana was a decent signing. I think Mazraoui was a decent signing. I'm struggling now. Mazraoui was a decent signing. I think Eriksen was a decent signing. Let's see who else Erik ten Hag signed quickly. I get generally there was a lot of players that were very questionable and the transfer fees were questionable. But as I said, let's have a look. Let's have a little look at who he signed. So this summer he signed Lenny Yoro, which I don't think was a waste. Manuel Ugarte, don't think was a waste. Matthias de Ligt, I don't think was a waste. Joshua Zirkzee, I'm a bit unsure about. Mazraoui, I thought was a good signing. Let's have a look at last summer. Højlund, I think, was a good signing, but we paid too much money for. Mason Mount was definitely a bad signing. Bayindir was 5 million. It's just a backup goalkeeper. And Onana, I think, ended up being a good signing. So, yeah, I think it was the summer before that was the most questionable ones, wasn't it? When we bought Casemiro, Antony, and Tyrell Malacia. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of questionable signings. It is mad, isn't it, when you look at the players that we've got and how much money we spent and you look at what we actually have and you look for it all and there probably isn't one world-class player that we've signed since in the last 2 or 3 years, really, is there? Like Martinez maybe on his day, maybe is world-class, but I don't think I'd put him in the world-class bracket, to be honest. And he's like the only one that you'd maybe put in there, you know? And you spent over 600 million and you can't pinpoint one world-class player. You know, one player that would get in the Arsenal team, the Liverpool team, the Man City team, even now. But anyway, let's move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about the stories coming out this morning. Harry Maguire has been talking about Ruben Amorim. A couple of the other Manchester United players have been speaking about Ruben Amorim. They've been discussing how the first few weeks have gone. And the general consensus coming out from the Manchester United camp is that they love Ruben Amorim. They love working with him. They love his passion. They love his energy. And I can relate to that. I've said this before, like when you used to watch the Erik ten Hag press conferences, I always used to struggle to feel motivated and to feel inspired. And I always thought when I watched Erik ten Hag speak, I thought, imagine if you're one of the players in the dressing room, right? And you've got and he's presenting himself in the same way every single day to try and get you, you know, psyched up for a game. And I just couldn't see it, if that makes sense. Whereas with Ruben Amorim, I think he speaks really well. He's honest. He's open. He's transparent. He doesn't seem to hide from the truth, which I really like. And I think that brutality, I think, is needed with this squad. I think you have to be brutal with them because if you go out in the press and say, oh, like, do you know what I mean? Like Erik ten Hag always used to sugarcoat it, didn't he? He always used to say, oh, it's a process, this, that, and the other. Whereas Ruben Amorim, straight to the point. He says we're going to suffer. He says that we're, all these things that we've been wanting Manchester United managers to say for years and they never have said. And this is what Harry Maguire said. So Harry Maguire's come out saying that Ruben Amorim came in with new ideas, great energy. The first game was difficult, but I'm sure you'll see a lot of progress by the end of the season. He says, in his meetings, I've been very impressed with the way he speaks and the energy he gives to the team. That's what the team needs. So there you go. And there's been other people coming out with similar quotes, other Manchester United players saying that the energy that Ruben Amorim brings to the team is, amazing. It's like a breath of fresh air. So really, really happy about that. Malp says, why is Harry Maguire even talking about Ruben Amorim? He's going. He was doing an interview for Sky Sports. That was where the quote came from. So, yeah, it's not like he's gone out of his way to, conduct his own press conference just to speak about the manager. The Manchester United players are contractually obliged to do press conferences. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. Let's try and get to 500 likes. And if this is your first time watching, make sure you subscribe as well. Go and do that right now if you haven't already. What else have we got here today? Someone's saying, do you think Rashford will be sold? I think Rashford should be sold. I mean, how long has Rashford been at this club? Obviously his whole career, but Yeah, I think it's gone past the point now of Marcus Rashford, you know? It's not even like it's like a hate campaign before. I know like a few seasons ago, there was some people being very toxic towards Rashford, which is not something I would do. But he's 27 years of age. He scored 1 goal in the last 18 games in the Premier League. I mean, that kind of says it all, doesn't it? Really? Like, it's not very good, is it? He has scored a couple of goals this season, to be fair, but it was in the League Cup. He scored 2 in the League Cup, 1 in the Europa League, and he scored 2 in the Premier League. So he scored 5 goals in 20 games, which is, yeah, I mean, it's not great, is it? For somebody on £350,000 a week. That's the problem, I think, with a lot of these players. It's not about their ability. I think the problem is that we just give them too much money. If Rashford was on like 100 grand a week, I don't think a single person in this chat would be complaining about it. It's when he's on 350k a week and he's earning more than like some of the best strikers in the world. I mean, like how much is, say, like Harry Kane earning at... How much is Harry Kane earning at Bayern Munich? I mean, Harry Kane earns about the same amount at Bayern Munich as what Marcus Rashford does. Or if you say looked at like... Obviously, it's a completely different league, but like look at like Gaio Queiroz at Sporting. He's earning about £40,000 a week, which is obviously, you know, it's not really relative because he's playing in a different league. Let's look at, say, Ollie Watkins in the Premier League. He's banging in goals for fun. Ollie Watkins is earning about 100k a week at Aston Villa. Marcus Rashford's earning 350k a week at Manchester United. You know, that's where I think a lot of the Man United fan base have problems with him, is his attitude. It looks like he doesn't care a lot of the time, and the fact that he's earning so much money and he's not giving us anything for that amount of money. You know, that's the biggest thing. What else have we got here? Malp says that apparently he thinks that Ruben Amorim's doing too many interviews. Yeah, I did see a story yesterday that apparently Ruben Amorim has asked Manchester United to reduce the amount of interviews he's doing. Again, that's something that's in his contract that says he has to do interviews. It's not like he's saying, I don't want to be on the training pitch, I just want to do interviews all the time. You know, it's something he's forced to do. So yeah, that it's a good point though. You know, he is doing a lot of interviews, but that's obviously to be expected. We're the biggest club in the world. We've got the biggest fan base in the world. We get the most clicks, we get the most likes, we get the most views, and obviously interviews with the new manager is going to get lots of views, isn't it? So you can see why they're forced to do it. But I agree with you. He definitely shouldn't be doing the amount of interviews he's doing. And hopefully Manchester United say, you know what, we're only going to let you do 1 interview a week. And that's what Ruben Amorim supposedly wants to do. He doesn't want to be spending all of his time speaking to the media when he needs to be out on the training field trying to coach these players to understand his ways very, very quickly. So yeah, I agree with you there. Ant says that money is money. The issue is he's meant to be a role model at the club. He's a senior player now. Yeah, that's a fair point as well. You know, it is a very fair point that Marcus Rashford is not a child anymore. He's not a teenager. He's a 27-year-old man playing for supposedly his boyhood club, and 99% of the time he doesn't look interested. He doesn't try. He walks around the pitch like I don't know, he just doesn't seem happy. And if he's not happy, then he should go somewhere else and go somewhere where he thinks he's going to be happy. But I was thinking about this yesterday, right? Like, if Marcus Rashford was to be sold now, I don't think he would get the big move anymore, to be honest. I don't think like a Barcelona or a PSG or someone would actually want him. Like, why would PSG want to sign somebody who scored, I think it was 2 goals in 18 Premier League games? Why would they do that? You know, I mean, arguably they might say that, you know, his stock price is low. Let's bring him in. He's talented and we can turn him back into a world-class player, maybe. But I just think now, who's going to, like, what top club would actually want to sign Marcus Rashford now? Let me know. Maybe I'm going off on one here, but the problem we find ourselves in is he's got 4 years left on his contract. So he's not going to be in any rush to go anywhere. He's on £350,000 a week with 4 years left on his deal, right? So the only way he's going to leave is if someone matches his wages, realistically. And if you look at his wages alone, over the 4-year period, so if you do 350,000, right, times, let's do So Marcus Rashford's owed about £67 million in wages. I mean, that's just makes your head explode, doesn't it? £67 million. So by the end of his contract in June 2028, we've got to pay him another £67 million between now and then. And you can see why he's not bothered about leaving, because I don't think anybody else is going to buy him, and I don't think a top club would come in for him now. Maybe like a Saudi club, but he's not going to go there. So, yeah, anyway, let me know what you think about all of that. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if he was to leave, it would be like a lesser Premier League club that would go for him. You know, like a Liverpool ain't going to go for him. A Man City wouldn't. A Chelsea wouldn't. An Arsenal wouldn't. Like, I just don't see it anymore. Maybe like a Bayern, maybe. But still, I don't really see it. Obviously, Bayern pay big wages. Yeah, but I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this morning. If you have enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to drop a like. It really helps the channel out. And make sure you subscribe as well. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all on the next one. Bye for now.